This morning, I woke up with a question. Would I accept dishonour for the sake of God? The answer is yes. I would accept dishonour for His sake, because I love Him. I love Him enough to be willing to accept persecution for His sake. I do not wish to be among those who dishonour Him. And this is not because I fear the wrath of God, which is revealed against the godless people. This I find in Romans chapter 1, verse 18. The wrath of God is being revealed from heaven against all the godlessness and wickedness of men, who suppress the truth by their wickedness, since what may be known about God is plain to them, because God has made it plain to them. God has made the truth regarding Him plain to the godless people who perceive this truth and yet suppress it. For since the creation of the world, God's invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly seen, being understood from what has been made, so that men are without excuse. Men who claim to disbelieve in God, men who maintain that the existence of God cannot be proved, have clearly seen God's invisible qualities, His eternal power and divine nature, because God has made all these plain to them. Despite seeing this, despite observing this evidence, they choose to disbelieve in God. Not only do they disbelieve in God, they also dishonour God. And we will find out that they disbelieve in God because they dishonour God. For although they knew God, they neither glorified Him as God, nor gave thanks to Him, but their thinking became futile, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Although they claimed to be wise, they became fools, and exchanged the glory of the immortal God for images made to look like mortal man, and birds and animals and reptiles. So this is the genesis of disbelief. The people who claim to disbelieve in God, the people who refuse to accept the sovereignty of God, the people who refuse to accept God, are those who knew Him, and yet they refuse to glorify Him and give Him thanks because of their futile thinking and their darkened, foolish hearts. There is a divine response to such unwillingness to accept God. Therefore God gave them over in the sinful desires of their hearts to sexual impurity, for the degrading of their bodies with one another. They exchanged the truth of God for a lie, and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. So you would find the disbelievers in God believe in created things. They believe in all that is created, but they refuse to believe in the Creator. They would honor the created and dishonor the Creator. Because of this, God gave them over to shameful lusts. Even their women exchanged natural relations for unnatural ones. In the same way, the men also abandoned natural relations with women and were inflamed with lust for one another. Men committed indecent acts with other men and received in themselves the due penalty for their perversion. So there are people in this world who maintain that homosexuality is a valid sexual preference, but according to God it is a shameful lust. According to the Bible, it is shameful. It is not something that man should be proud of. And yet we find people in the world today happy to acknowledge their homosexuality. In Romans, homosexuality is clearly described as an outcome of man's unwillingness to acknowledge God and man's unwillingness to honor God. Furthermore, since they did not think it worthwhile to retain the knowledge of God, He gave them over to a depraved mind to do what ought not to be done. They have become filled with every kind of wickedness, evil, greed, and depravity. They are full of envy, murder, strife, deceit, and malice. They are gossips, slanderers, God-haters, insolent, arrogant, and boastful. They invent ways of doing evil. They disobey their parents. They are senseless, faithless, heartless, ruthless. Although they know God's righteous decree that those who do such things deserve death, they not only continue to do these very things, but also approve of those who practice them. So there are godless people in this world who refuse to accept the existence of God, who refuse to honor God. They refuse to obey His commands. Not only do they refuse to obey His commands, they also encourage such disobedience in others. I do not want to be among such people who dishonor God. I have clearly stated that I am someone who honors God, and I honor God not because of the wrath of God, but because I love Him. I love Him, and I would love to follow Him, and I would love to be able to follow His commands. For this I need the Spirit of God. The Spirit of God must empower me to live the life that God wants me to live, so that everything I do will honor Him. This is my message to the people of the world today. God bless you all.